ndo natumia.
It is with profound sadness that we must also address a grave and existential threat to our nation. The alarming rise in abductions, forced disappearances, and extrajudicial executions targeting innocent young Kenyans is an issue I first raised over 5 months ago while still serving as Deputy President. During that particular press conference in Mombasa on 26th of June, I pointed out that we were breaking a promise we made to the people of Kenya that would ensure there would never again be abductions, forced disappearances, or extrajudicial killings, at least not under our watch. At that time, I was castigated greatly by other members of government. In fact, raising this issue as I did became one of the grounds used to hound me out of office. However, what I raised 6 months ago, when it started to be used as a means of handling public disquiet, has now escalated into a full-blown and terrifying pattern of how this administration handles criticism. Abductions, forced disappearances, and extrajudicial killings have become alarmingly frequent, to a point we now have certain quarters trying to justify this as a means of handling grievances. I say this because the victims are overwhelmingly young Kenyans whose only crime is the innovative ways they have employed to speak out against the political establishment. The message being sent out by these actions is clear and chilling. If you speak out against the government, you'll be picked up by the now famous Subaru boys and disappeared. The purpose of this message is to intimidate the young men and women of our nation and discourage them from ever speaking out again, the way they did when they expressed their disagreement with the Finance Bill 2024. Unfortunately, this government strategy of trying to scare Kenyans into silence while they go ahead and lie, loot, and destroy our nation cannot and will not hold. In fact, it is just another example of how disconnected this particular administration has become with the reality of where Kenya is today. Today, I want to speak directly to President William Ruto on this matter. He knows that I was strongly opposed to this kind of ideas and took every opportunity available to speak against those who felt that force is a strategy we can use to manage Kenyans. I made my position known privately many times, and once or twice I even spoke publicly. Mr. President, you are on record stating that there are no abductions happening in Kenya. You even mischievously challenged any families that might have lost a loved one to abductees to say the details of anyone who might have been abducted to your office. Of course, no Kenyan did that because they saw through your chariot. However, the facts that abductions are happening are there. Close to 100 Kenyans have been abducted, and most are still to be found. Your own security chiefs have confirmed that abductions are happening. Our neighbor Uganda even thanked us for abducting a political opposition leader of their country and handing him over to them. Efforts by your government officials to reframe these disappearances as lawful arrests will not hold. The Constitution is very clear on how a person is supposed to be arrested. At no point does it provide for the kind of actions we are seeing, where Kenyans are abandoned into cars by unidentified men in masks and then disappeared, never to be found again. All their bodies found buried in mass graves. The few lucky ones are those found tortured and barely alive, wandering in places they did not know. The Inspector General of the National Police Service continues to insist he is not aware of these incidents. He also demands that Kenyans stop accusing the police of being behind what he refers to as alleged abductions. Which begs the question, how can the police still be in denial when there are witnesses, video evidence, and countless grieving families coming forward? Consider the case of the Kitengela 3, abducted and released in September. They recounted harrowing stories of a 32-day ordeal involving torture. Yet months later, the Inspector General has neither new information nor a single suspect in custody. Instead, he continues to treat these abductions as speculative. Between June and November 2024, reports indicate 74 cases of enforced disappearances, with 26 individuals still unaccounted for. Tragically, the events this December have only worsened the situation. New abductions are being reported, with more families coming forward to share heartbreaking stories of loved ones taken without a trace. This failure of accountability raises an urgent and troubling question. Who is responsible for these abductions, and why are our security forces powerless or unwilling to intervene? The situation is clear. Our security agencies are either actively complicit in silencing dissent or profoundly incompetent and unable to take decisive action on one of the most significant security crises the country has faced under this administration. When I raised concerns about the dysfunctionality of the National Intelligence Service, I was accused of being insubordinate. However, the events of recent months have regrettably validated my position. President William Ruto must take full responsibility and immediately address these egregious violations. To remain silent or inactive is to suggest that these actions are being carried out with his knowledge and consent. It is impossible to ignore the fact that the only link among the victims is their criticism of the president and his administration. This administration explicitly promised that such atrocities would not happen under its watch. Yet today, it is our children, our future, who are the targets of a ruthless wave of repression. Kenya deserves better. The rule of law, justice, and the fundamental rights of every citizen must prevail. We call upon all leaders, stakeholders, and citizens to rise together and demand accountability. This state of lawlessness must end. We also make an urgent appeal to all friends of this country, the media, the church, local and international civil society, and the international community. We need you to intervene. In the face of government complicity and blatant violation of fundamental human rights and impunity, the voices of Kenya's citizens are being silenced. We ask you to take a firm stand against these atrocities. Pressure must be brought to bear on this administration to respect its constitutional obligations, protect its people, and end this reign of terror. Silence from the global community will only embolden those who perpetuate these crimes. Finally, 6 months ago, I demanded for the resignation of the head of the National Intelligence Service. It was politicized. Today, I reiterate that demand. I also demand the resignation of the Inspector General of Police, the Director of Criminal Investigations, and the Director General of the National Intelligence Service. They have clearly failed Kenyans. Meanwhile, the government must tell us what we are to do now that our security agencies have publicly stated that they are unable to protect us from these abductions. Do they want us to defend themselves? Or what is the Inspector General of Police telling us? To the families of the victims of whom this season of celebration has been overshadowed by anguish and unrelenting search for their loved ones who have vanished without trace, we assure you that we will stand with you until your loved ones come home and justice is delivered for these despicable actions. I want to, in conclusion, say Kenyans are very worried people. When the Inspector General of Police says that the police are not involved in these abductions, and then he admits they are happening, what happens? The National Police Service have a constitutional duty to protect life and property. When the Inspector General of Police admits that he is helpless, what are the people of Kenya supposed to do? The admission by the Inspector General of Police that he is not aware of who is doing the abductions confirms what we know and what we have gathered. There is a unit of police officers that are not under the command of the Inspector General of Police that are carrying out these abductions and killings. There is a building in Nairobi, the 21st floor, in the city center, where this unit is operating from. Led by a certain Mr. Abel, will be giving a second name the next 1 week or so. Is a unit of officers drawn from across security agencies that are not under the command of the Inspector General of Police. Abel is a cousin to a very senior government official in this administration. And if this unit is not dismantled, we'll be giving the name of the building and the full names of that officer and his cousin in this administration. And these people are not answerable to the Inspector General of Police. Your guess is as good as mine as to who is the commander of that unit. Let me emphasize that killing our children will not quell the anger of the Kenyan people. People are very angry with this administration. Abducting young people is not a solution. You must address the cause of the disquiet, of the discontent. Why are people aggrieved with this administration? That must be dealt with. Abducting these children and killing them is not a solution. And I must remind my friend and brother, Dr. William Ruto, that since independence, no government has ever gone for children. This is the first administration in the history of this country to target children for repression and persecution. Even the colonial administration, brutal as it was, it never went for the children. And the question the president must address is simple. Why has everybody turned against you and the administration in only 2 years? That is what you need to interrogate instead of persecuting these children. Again, he must understand the law of nature. Nature abhors vacuum. When you swallow the opposition and there is nobody to hold you to account, when you capture parliament and other institutions of oversight, Since nature abhors vacuum, other formations will emerge to oversight you and hold you to account. And that is how the church has come up to hold the government to account. And that is how these young Kenyans have come out to hold the government to account. In the unfortunate event that these children were to be muzzled and silenced through death and abductions and other extrajudicial methods of silencing dissent, some new formations will also come up to hold the government in check because nature abhors vacuum. So the amount of repression that is going on in the country is unparalleled, it is unprecedented, and it needs to come to an end. I have just learned we have a prayer meeting in Shamata Ward in Nyandarua. Tomorrow we have a farm. The residents of that ward normally meets once in a year for prayers to close the year. We have prayers tomorrow. And the police commander there in that county is intimidating leaders to cancel those prayers that they will not be allowed to take place, that they need a permit. I want to tell the county commander in Nyandarua that you don't need a permit to hold prayers. Again, is this repression by this administration. Even if you stop the people of Nyandarua from holding prayers, that will not change their political views of what they think about this administration. I want to say the prayers will go on. I'll be in attendance with the residents of Shamata. And if the police want to come and stop the prayers, they can go ahead. But that will just enrage the people even more. And those tactics of using police to stop prayers were tried by the previous administration. And the president knows how it worked out. You just agitate people more. You make people more rebellious. There is no need for police to interfere with people's rights of expression, of association, and the freedom of worship. So I want again to ask the Inspector General of Police to tell his county commander in Nyandarua not to interfere with the rights of the people of that area to hold prayers and to congregate to pray together, because those rights are guaranteed in the Constitution. And this is not the way to deal with dissent and discontent. Let the government take time to find out why people are unhappy. Why are people so discontented with this administration? But try to stop people from meeting, from congregating will not solve any problem. It will just magnify an already bad situation. And I can tell them it will not work. It's an exercise in futility. So good people, I just wanted to make those remarks about abductions, and I can answer one or two questions if there is. Kosawa? I don't know whether Uhuru is going to Ruto. I don't have such information. But I have said many times the people of this region don't follow leaders. It's leaders who follow the people. I don't follow anybody myself. I only follow the people. I have said I have very extensive consultations with the people of this region so that we decide what is our political destiny. That consultation is ongoing on. It's going on. It's very extensive. It's very thorough. And it's what I'm doing here. When you walked in, I was having some consultation, and I continue to do so. I'll never follow anybody. I'll always follow the people. Yeah. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Kuna haja ya hiyo natosha. Thank you.